Hey, what's up everybody, BDF 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, just got to watching 8 a.m. in Charlotte. Drake's new video, solid. Really enjoyed the music there. It's good seeing him with his son in the video, all of that. Really put a good vibes in the air on my end. Kind of had a little bit of a rough night thus far, nothing too serious, just same old ups and downs of my situation and my mental. Worked out pretty good today. Got two in today. Actually, I did a 2-a-day for the first time in a little while. Shredding a lot of weight, man, because I don't have my 30-pound weights with me, so I can't really lift off my chest, lift off my legs like I want to. But the cardio is definitely coming around, so it's shredding the weight like crazy. So that's, as long as the conditioning is there, as long as I'm keeping the right habits, and I can always build strength with heavier weights later on. But I just don't want to lose the conditioning. That's really what it's about. Keep them habits going, keep them push-ups going, good eating habits, and I've been able to kind of do that. Got another heat wave coming. This valley heat is not good, man. It's like 80 degrees right now. It's only gonna get hotter. As hot as 97. Last time it told me it was gonna get as hot as 97. It got to 101. So who knows exactly how hot it's gonna be between now and Sunday, but it's gonna be that. So dealing with that in North Hollywood. But I just wanted to come in and touch down with everybody. I don't think I made a therapy session today. If I did, it was definitely early this morning. I don't think I did though. Did some Laker video. Very excited about the NBA being back, man. So I had some content for that. But it's one of them situations where I'm just looking around online, and I'm seeing Dame Lillard's personal business in regards to his wife and what is alleged that they're gonna divorce and all that. I'm just like, man, why is that man's business being plastered on every single publication? Why do we need to know about people going through these type of things? That's my question. If the man's going through a divorce, shouldn't that be like private? Shouldn't that like not be all in our face? Like who okays this? When you start thinking about stuff like that, it's like, who is pushing this out to the media for everybody to see? It's like, yeah, I know he was just traded, and the timing of it is really crazy in regards to the trade, but shouldn't that not require some privacy? Why do we have to know about people being divorced? Why we gotta know about that? I just don't know that I need to know that. But they love to tell us about a black family breaking up, don't they? Anyway, I was in a space tonight where I was just thinking about my own situation and how my mental health is really causing me so much drama. Not drama, that's the opposite of drama. I've kind of stayed away from drama because of my mental health, but it keeps me from interacting with people properly and stuff like that. I saw a meme that my friend Karen sent me, essentially saying a quote from Paul Walker, rest in peace, Paul Walker. Essentially what it said was something along the lines of, kids who are in a hospital bed right now, who are you to go to sleep depressed? Something along those lines. And I agree, it kind of coincided with the message that I sent to Drew and Lauren Holiday tonight, responding to Lauren Holiday's write-up in regards to her husband being traded and how they don't want to be treated like commodities. And wouldn't it be nice if athletes, whether they have money or not, aren't treated like commodities? Yes, it would be. But I wrote I said some things in regards to that kind of went against the point of view that she was saying, and I encourage everybody to go check out my video. But I thought that really aligned, what I was saying aligned with that meme in a way. It's like, who are we to complain when you're in a position of privilege, regardless if it's inconvenient or regardless if you don't feel good about what you're going through? People are going through worse. So who are we to feel as if we have a right to feel entitled to better? And maybe you want better, maybe you deserve better, but to complain about it for everyone to hear, it just seemed like it was lacking in tone and understanding. And that's essentially what the message was in that meme, in a different way. I think For myself, I decided to look at that meme's comment section, and people were talking about another position on things that I really agree with, specifically about depression. And I didn't zero in on the word depression when reading the meme. I was more so thinking about just going to bed feeling bad, but it did mention the word depression, so people, of course, took that literally, and their mindset. Some of those people were talking about their depression and anxiety. And one person said that their faith in Jesus helped them overcome their depression and anxiety, and they claimed victory over it, and they haven't felt any since. And another person said they're a believer, but they couldn't. That it's chemical for them, and they have. It was a person who said they had depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia, and she couldn't overcome that. She was scolding the person who made the, not the person who made the meme, but essentially Paul Walker, and saying, who is he to judge? Tell us to shake off our depression, when depression is something that ultimately can cause people to be homeless. And those type of anxieties and things of that nature could. A lot of people who share those diagnoses with her are often homeless. And I look at myself, and I realize that's exactly what I've been struggling with. Of course, we don't know exactly the full diagnosis. I'm not necessarily getting the answers as of yet. But, in the preliminary communication with the initial doctor, he essentially said that he felt I was going through chronic depression and anxiety. And I think it's probably a little more than that, but, essentially what I was looking at is that, that coincides with my decision making. And if you guys follow me on this channel enough, you know that already. How I've struggled with my decision making in regards to going back to work, how I've struggled with addressing certain things that have gone awry in my life. Instead of looking for solutions, I just see those seeking of solutions as, more stress, no different than the problem itself. And lately I realized that my wisdom, the understanding of that, has not kept me from behaving the same way as I always did. Since being rejected from GR, I have not contacted DPSS at all, and I know I need to in order to reapply, but it's just the point of it being so very identified as a stress for me. And it's like I don't like the consequences of it, of not looking up things that need to be done and not addressing things ahead of time. The consequences have been utterly depressing for me, difficult, impossibly ridiculous if not for the help of family. But I still find myself with that wisdom not choosing the right thing, with that understanding and the fear of those consequences, not choosing the right thing. And I just feel like at some point in time, you just realize that it's not something you can think your way through. No different than what that lady was saying in regards to the meme. I'm dealing with that. I'm living it right now. Having gone through what I went through 2 Tuesdays ago, as you guys know, I felt so depressed 2 Thursdays ago in regards to having to leave my things underneath the stairs in the lobby here and spending the night in the hotel room. Like, you would think that would put me in a position to just say, this is too much stress to even go through this. Let me go get a job. Let me at least address my GR situation, see why things have not worked out. But I'm telling y'all, I haven't. With those fears in mind and with those consequences also being up, so it's such a recent struggle. I'm telling you that I don't have any more control over my mental health than I did when I was at Lennox, really. Not at all. Today I spent all day in this place. And that's why I had an opportunity to work out twice today, because I didn't leave. I slept during the daytime around between like 10 a.m. and like 12 p.m. I was asleep. Full depressed mode. And I was thinking about my situation in regards to Karen. As I told you guys in my last therapy session, I looked to follow her on IG for the first time. And the reason why I hadn't is because I was too fearful and too anxious about what I would see there that ultimately wouldn't be favorable to me, even though I don't know that anything would be there. My mental health is such a set of space, and my friendship and relationship with her, which is not a relationship, if I'm being clear, my friendship with her and how it relates to my mind is basically a trigger. She's a trigger point for me. And because of it, I don't ask certain questions that would help me out understand certain things. I don't get involved in her life in certain ways because I'm afraid that what I'm going to see there is going to make me unhappy. I don't like that for me at all. It makes it so that when she disappears, I find myself depressed. And sometimes she needs to disappear because she has her own thing going on in whatever way she does. And of course, I don't ever ask, so I never actually know. And so it gets to a point where I end up with my weird interactions coming to certain conclusions that I know are basically based on my mental health disadvantages, not necessarily because of anything real, but because of my overthinking, underthinking, ultimately the stress that I'm going through in other areas that I can pinpoint to her absence, which I've discussed several times on this channel. I said all this to say that mental health is not something to play with. No matter how talented a person is or how well they present themselves, how much wisdom they have in regards to what it is that they're looking at, or how they may have gone through the consequences of certain things that would otherwise change their ways if not for just the decision to not change. I'm telling y'all that I'm in the thick of things being horrible in my life, and I can't get out of my own way just because of the same old thing that put me in this position in the first place. And now that it's gotten as bad as it has, I can identify it as just that. As to where when I was living in Lenox, I'd always thought I could turn it off. I always thought that if it really came down to it, push come to shove, I would just do what I need to do to keep myself from going through what I'm going through. But now I'm going through it and I can't turn it off, and I realize beyond a shadow of a doubt what this leads to. And I just feel for not only myself but everybody who suffers what it is that I suffer. Whatever the heck this is, I'm not certain, but it is very, very, very debilitating, and I need a lot of help for it that I'm not receiving, and that's frustrating for me because I've been looking for that help. I've been looking for it in regards to psychiatrists. And of course, I told you my psychiatrist didn't call me as the scheduled time this past time. I ain't spoke to her in weeks. I don't know what she's up to in regards to this program. I've been, trying to get my GRs. You guys fully are aware of at this point. They denied me for something that has nothing to do with my mental health, but has to do with what I own in stock, which ain't enough to even buy myself 2 pair of shoes. I got a week and a half left on this contract with this hotel, and their rules make it so that you have to leave here for a night at least, probably more since I've already done this once. And they don't really smile upon people who want to stay a long tenure, you know what I mean? They give you 3 weeks and you gotta bounce so they can replenish, reset the room, and of course do what they do to let others in. If you want to reset, they allowed me to within a day in between that, but I don't know if that's something they would allow me to do a third time. They didn't want me to do it a second time. I went through, like I said, 2 Tuesdays ago, I was so sad and so frustrated with these consequences and with what was coming, that I wanted to quit on life, and I was able to overcome that. The Lord brought me through that, and I'm glad He did. I've enjoyed my life since. I've done a couple more playlists, done content on this channel, enjoyed my life for the most part since, even though I've had these struggles with my friend Kay and her distance and what she's dealing with and how I perceive it. it's just been a whirlwind of ups and downs, just like I felt that the spirit was telling me it would be before I left Linux. Carousel, so to speak. It's been that. And I get this far down the road where the Lord has blessed me with yet another contract here after having all that go down with the stuff under the stairs and all that. And I realize that there's nothing I have done really that have provided me any solutions to my problems. I've tried to address them, but in those attempts I have run into roadblocks, and the strength to keep attempting it hasn't been there. You know, with my phone situation, they sent me the wrong thing. The wrong company sent me the wrong thing, that kind of thing. It didn't send me a phone, they sent me a tablet. Went all the way to Linux, picked up the tablet, brought it back here, was happy to find out I get to keep it. Great. But what about the phone? So I tried to run a transaction to get the phone for $12 through the company that I was trying to initially get it from. And they rejected my transaction and said that what did they say? It said that the zip code didn't match the card, which was some bull crap. But what I was actually doing was trying to keep from having to put in my address, because clearly the address has changed. And I don't want to have to go back down to Linux to pick up another package. But when I ran the transaction and they told me that, it also charged me $12 twice. I think they reimbursed it, but I didn't check again. I really didn't check. In the situation with the GR, as soon as I saw that they had rejected me on GR on Saturday, I called them on Saturday, left a message with DPSS, or at least tried to. They didn't allow me to. I was supposed to call them on Monday, but I just didn't have the strength to do it. Tuesday came around, didn't have the strength to do it. Wednesday came around, didn't have the strength to do it. Tomorrow's Thursday. Hopefully I'll have the strength to contact them. Only the problem is when I contact them, I just know they're going to tell me, or at least believe they're going to tell me, which is part of the problem, is how I perceive the future. That there was no mistake made, that because I own over $100 of stock, that they will not be giving me what I need, as to which I don't want to have to wait on the phone for an hour and a half just to hear that. I really don't. And that's just what it is, man. And the situation with my friend Kay is just, you know, she's dealing with whatever she's dealing with. I don't know, because I ain't talking to her enough to know. And so I perceive that in all different types of ways that entitle me to her time in my head, or entitle me to have to, you know, be sad because I'm not receiving whatever communication I want. It's not anything real about that. The truth of the matter is, she's minding her business, man. It's a regular Thursday. That's the God's honest truth. You want more from somebody than what they've ever given to you. You perceive it as more than what it is, because that's just what your brain does. My interactions with people have always been distant, with all different types of versions of love, whether it be friendship or otherwise. I'm used to distance, and real people are not. Regular people are not. So the role that I'm probably supposed to be playing in her life is just that of somebody who's a motivational, someone who she could bounce motivation off of, a friend. That's probably the only role I really should be playing. Let that go by. But you know, in my head, I pointed out to be something else. She said things that made me feel like it's something else, and I hung my hat on those things. You know how it is? It is what it is. People don't want to lose one another, so they tell each other what they want to hear. Problem is, when you do that to somebody like me, I actually believe it. And so I ran with that in my own little way. You know what I mean? It's hard to respect me in that way when I look in the mirror, because it's like, men don't do that. We're the ones doing the talking that way. We the ones do that. We don't have that done to us. I don't know how to perceive that, but that's what it seemed like to me. And since I've been in relationships where I haven't been respected, I'm just projecting that onto her. Being discarded by exes and things of that nature, where they felt like either I could be around or not, and it would be fine either way, that type of energy. So I just found myself reaching out more than what I receive, and I guess I'm projecting that into this situation. When actually, if I were just normal, none of this would be the case. None of this would be going on. And so I'm just telling y'all that my mental health is doing what it's doing, man. My spiritual health is strong, though. I wake up in the morning praying, I go to sleep praying, I pray throughout the day, throughout this whole process. I ain't smoked no weed, I ain't drank no liquor. I ain't even as much as allow myself to eat bad foods. You know, I've been, as you guys can see on my channel, documenting how I go down and get everything that I get to stay healthy. I'm taking care of myself to the best of my ability. But I'm not getting the help that I need. My family's sending me money, and that's definitely help I need, but we're talking about mental health help. It's not coming. I'm still struggling heavily, and I don't know what a psychiatrist would do for me other than listen to me talk about the same thing I'm talking to you. I don't know that mental problems get better as time progresses. I think they get worse. I think we could pray all day and all night, but at the end of the day, what makes our brain awry is something that needs to be addressed in a different way. And while I love myself tremendously and I don't want to quit on life, I'm past that. I don't think like that. I don't want to think like that. I'm not in that space. I am telling you that I'm still behaving like somebody that doesn't know what's coming my way. Struggles. I'm acting like somebody that doesn't quite get it. And I really do at this point. I really understand this. I know exactly how bad this can get, how bad it's already been, and why I shouldn't want it to be that way. But I'm not getting any stronger in regards to overcoming it, it seems. That thing that makes you call DPSS in the morning and get to it and listen to them tell you what you gotta hear. That thing that helps you follow through on calling the Air Talk wireless people to figure out what my next steps are to get my phone. All these different things that I had the strength to do on some days, I don't have on the days I need to do them. It's just not there. And then you start thinking, like, what is it going to take for me to be able to be healthy enough to get a full life out of this thing? What is it going to take for me to be healthy enough to have my own family so that I'm not struggling with this very simple interactions that I am with my friend that's distant, you know what I mean? So that I can just be that mentor in her life that ultimately I believe she would probably prefer me to be. Just an older guy, a mentor who could help her navigate through some of these circumstances instead of being yet another anchor, you know, another obsessive dude in her life, whatever the case may be. Somebody who's pointed at her rather than pointing her toward what would make her be happier. I really want that, especially with all the hurt that I'm going through trying to wear a different hat. As I think I would be happier as what it is that I think she would prefer me to be. I really believe that. If I had a wife, you know what I mean, like a real family, an actual 39-year-old with normal life, then I wouldn't be pointed at her in any other way than to be as supportive as she needs me to be, and to leave her to make her decisions, and then she could be able to lean on me in regards to those decisions. I could navigate her through whatever it is she's dealing with. I could help her find what it is that actually the Lord wants for her, instead of trying to be that or fail at being that and then be unhappy about it. After all, I got the girl by about 11 years, to be honest with you. And so that's really what it comes to in regards to myself. I don't think I'm trying to be the right way toward her, and today's the first day I felt that way. You're not supposed to be trying to turn her into anything other than her best self from within your position, the mistakes that you've made. Not trying to ask her to be something else, you know. I mean, she's not obviously trying to be that. And so it just puts a strain on the friendship because now I feel like I gotta back up, like to protect myself. I start getting defensive. I start projecting. And it's just more of the same of that doesn't ultimately lead me in the right direction, or her for that matter. And we've talked about how I believe she's talked to me about certain things in regards to her feelings, how she's felt depressed. And I just feel like I'm more or less one more thing that's probably putting stress on her if I were to express all of the stress that I feel from her absence. So what I find myself doing lately is making these voicemails on her IG that vent all of the things that I want to say, and I delete them before she sees them. I've done that so many times over the last 3 days, it's not even funny. Because I feel I need to get those things out, but I actually don't want them to stress her in any way or press her in any way. I look to protect her from my own feelings and demons. I've said enough to tell her that, I've wanted to treat me a little better, but not all the stuff I've been actually saying into those voicemails. I make sure they're gone. Wigging out over that girl, like I ain't got no damn sense. Not necessarily in a way that would make her feel uncomfortable per se, but just applies more pressure on her to be a certain way that she don't need when she's going through what she's going through, and that I haven't earned in being the way that I've been. It's just the truth. I ain't creating no stability in my life that would allow me to be somebody that she should choose. There's no reason for her to choose me. There's no reason for anybody to choose me. I haven't chosen myself, it seems, based on my behavior. Although I know that that's not true. I'm just struggling with my mind, as I always do. She's been very patient with me, very supportive from within what it is that she's willing to do, which is kind of hard, but it's what it is. It's what it's always been. If you've been following this channel, you know that already. We both struggle, We're both struggling with our mental health. That's the bottom line. And I pray about it, I pray about her, and the Lord's put it in my heart that, I do deserve to be treated better. He's definitely put that in my heart, that she could do better. But, at the same time, it's like he's also told me that my love for her and the prayers that I prayed for her are heard and felt. And it's real. This is one of the reasons why I look to protect her from a lot of what I feel, It's because that love is there. That care for her is real. And he's told me that she cares for me as well. It seems like every time we communicate, it's some type of time on the clock that's aligned. Tonight it was 11:11. A couple of days ago, I think it was like 3:33. We've been running into that just about every time we talk these days. I don't think that's a coincidence. Just like every other coincidence that we have aligned with one another, including her brother and my mother being buried in the same place, having the same birthday, which I just think is unreal. But all in all, I just tell you that a lot of what it is I feel to my consciousness is based on how I feel about her. It ain't got nothing to do with the real problems in my life. I avoid those. I don't even allow those to stress me out. The only thing I really be stressing about these days is her. And that ain't right, man. That's not right for me. That's not right for her. That's not right for anything in regards to my spirit or my circumstances. It's just, she's a trigger for my mental health, and I'm starting to really understand that. I was on a bus a couple of days ago, and I saw some dude walking down the street with a woman that looked a little like her, and I felt anxious, like real anxiousness. It's like a real anxiety that hit me. I kid you not. I gotta be honest about that. Am I that afraid of her breaking my heart? I don't think so. I think it's the mental health, to be honest with you. I think it's my own perception of me not being adequate in her life to actually be that person walking down that street with her, that ultimately makes me feel like she would otherwise just choose somebody else off of the default of that, whether I know of her doing that or not. It just seems to me that that's a reasonable thing. I haven't been around her closely in a long time, so why wouldn't she have people in her life, or someone in her life or whatever? And so these are the type of things that I have to be honest about. Say, I gotta do something that would pull that type of perception away from my consciousness. I gotta pray that off me. I gotta maybe get away from these feelings, maybe pull away from her entirely. I don't know what I need to do so that this doesn't continue to get worse in that way. Projecting all of my pain and all of my feelings and all of this nonsense that I got going on her way. It's just not, it's not of God, first of all. Too many prayers have been prayed in the direction of her being protected of me, and protected of anything that would come against her, for me to point any of these feelings in her direction, or have this type of thing placed on her image in my mind. I think at the end of the day, it would be easier if I was on drugs or something like that, so I could say, I'm struggling with that. Or it would be easier to say if I would liquor it up. So if I were alcoholic, maybe we can make some sense of some of this. But I'm sober, man. I haven't smoked anything in months, about a month. I'm very sober. I just struggle with my mental health, man. And so being alone is hard. Seems like I always have somebody I'm attached to in that way, even though they're not in my life. It's almost like a mainstay for me. If it wasn't her, it was my ex. If it wasn't my ex, it's somebody else. It's always a girl somewhere. You know what I mean? That kind of thing with me. And they're not here. It's a cycle. I'm really hopeful that the Lord will liberate me of that cycle and allow me to desire to be in the life of somebody who has that same energy for me, and all of my flaws and all of my weaknesses and all the things that I struggle with. Regardless of the coincidences that the Lord provides me to understand that we have some type of soul tie. At the end of the day, if it's attached to what's awry in my mind, how can it ever be a good thing? It's what I ask God. If I see people who look like her walking down the street and I become anxious, how can that possibly be good for her? How could I possibly be good for her? And so that's what comes to mind, and it kind of just makes me more depressed. I think communication would help if I knew more about her life in regards to her day to day. If I were in her life, maybe it would help some, maybe it wouldn't. But I'm thankful that the Lord has kept her away from me while I struggle with this. I think it's best. I don't know why I'm confessing all of this to you guys. It probably makes you think I'm a much worse off in my mind than I actually am. I would never hurt the girl. I would never put her in a position to feel uncomfortable. I'd never let myself even get that close to her to do that if I were that way. But I'm not violent in any way. I don't have those type of thoughts. I don't feel she owes me nothing, or if she did something I want to fight anybody. It's not in my heart. It's just the sadness that comes with finding out something that I don't want to find out, that I anticipate. It's struggles like that really plague my mind. Keep me from following her on IG, keep me from asking her certain questions, or quote unquote holding her accountable for things that I don't think she may be saying that are truthful or what have you. I just let her kind of believe that I'm fine with all of it. I kind of created the environment for this to be okay because of those things along the way. And I've prayed prayers to keep myself from idolizing her or putting her on a pedestal that she shouldn't be on. I don't know that I was able to be successful though. And I've apologized to her for that. I have, like, for asking her to be something that she couldn't be, or for not refraining from harboring a certain type of resentment for her not becoming what it is that I want her to be, in terms of reaching out to me consistently and things of that nature, when I know exactly how it feels to not want to talk to people that I care about every day. I've told her many times that I think that the punishment, she's a punishment for me not treating others right in the past. I really believe that, until I got to a point where I realized it was my mental health that was creating all of that. A lot of it was just really me wanting more from somebody that I'm not actually asking or doing more to receive that from, if that makes any sense. Kept her at a distance and then wanted her to come closer, that kind of thing. I think this is one of the most important therapy sessions I've done this whole year. I really need to vent all this out because it's really been a depressing thing for me. Caring for her in this way, but not having her close, knowing that I'm probably not even supposed to. I think the enemy has used her and other things to kind of make me tired, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Just wore me down. And that's how I feel, just kind of worn down, you know. Get to a point where you start saying, I want to choose me. Like, I can't be in your life because you're not treating me right. I choose me, but the reality is I'm not treating me right. If I were, then this wouldn't even be possible. Can't blame her for nothing at all. She has been open with me as I would ask her to be in regards to what she got going on. Either I could believe what she's telling me or not. But ain't like I said, okay, let's get in a relationship, and she said, okay, and then for there started lying about stuff. Nothing like that even happened. And yet it's like I want her to be faithful. I don't know what the heck you call that, but it doesn't make any sense, and it's not what I would suggest anybody else believe in if they were in my shoes. It's not real. It's just a product of what it is I got going on in my head. I want to be well, man. I want her to be well too. Whatever she has going on and however she's dealing with it, prayers are being prayed every day for the healing of both of our minds. I don't know what's best. I don't trust my mind in regards to perceiving her, my entitlement, the distance that I keep between us, the environment I've created for her to do whatever she wants to, and then acting like I trust all of it. It's just comfortable to a point, just like everything else I do. It leaves me comfortable for a moment, and it leaves me with the worst consequences in the end. And how I've handled this situation with her is exactly that. It's the exact same way. It's a different application of that. Make somebody think everything that they do is fine, and then to a point when you realize that you can't handle it, you act as if you didn't create that. I created that. If I would have told her what parameters that would make me feel like I'm not being respected, or what parameters that would make me feel like I'm not feeling appreciated, or whatever the heck that would be, early, then she would have a better understanding of what it is I can handle. But I didn't. I let that go completely out of whack just to keep from asking the right questions that would help me understand certain things that otherwise I didn't want the answers for. And maybe she appreciated that. Maybe that's why it's worked for her in this way. But That is not something I would have did if I were okay. It's not how I was raised. I was raised to believe you don't have nothing unless you define something. If you don't define a relationship, you don't have one. If you don't tell a person you're in a relationship and they agree with that, you're not in one. That's what my mother taught me from jump. But I didn't have the temperament to use that wisdom in this situation. See, it's not just enough to know what you should do. You have to be able to be strong enough to do it. It ain't enough to just be wise. You got to be able to apply that wisdom. And I have not. So that's pretty much the thought, man. Stressing over a girl, a woman for sure. And it's not because of anything normal at all. It's not even about her. It's about me not being quite in control of my own mental health. That's truly what it's about. And everything that I do because of it. And how it also just pans out the wrong way for me. That's every bit of what I'm going through. It's every bit of what I've been going through all my life. As I told you guys once before, I think Connie robbed me of a normal life. Connie being that woman that provided me a great deal of trauma when I was 2 years old. I really believe that she robbed me of a chance at true love up until this point. It robbed me of an opportunity to feel normal in circumstances such as these. Yeah. So what I will say is just respect children, man. Respect them, respect the baby. Any little thing can be an effect on their minds, and if they're going through trauma or the sickness of whatever was happening, it can really affect them in some really strange ways, man. I'm almost 40 years old, and I'm telling you that's exactly what happened to me. My mental health is horrible. And I don't think it would be if that just simply didn't happen. My interactions with women, my interactions with my circumstances that I need to handle, my interactions with strangers and how I perceive the world coming at me or what have you, is all skirted by that one event. And I'm looking for help and I'm coming up short, man. But I'm still striving to be alive. I'm still striving to want to do my thing. I'm still striving to be a good friend in her life, and maybe even one day find some love in my life. If it ain't gonna be her, somewhere, someone can actually give me what it is that I'm willing to put out in terms of the devotion that I have in my heart for a woman. Because of the people that I choose, the personalities that I choose based on these parameters that I have, I think I often find people that would not, by default, give me back what I have for them. And I end up torturing myself by way of them and that choice. I really believe that. I just want normal companionship, normal stability in my life, a normal stream of income, a normal household for myself. I don't want to have to rely upon nobody else to pay my way. I want all of that for myself. And I can't seem to bring myself to get it, and I'm frustrated with this. But my faith is strong, my God is proven, and my resolve is very strong as well. And I do feel worn down and tired and hurt and all these different things, but I'm not confused about why that is. And I'm thankful for that self-awareness. I'm very, very blessed to have that. Even though it feels like a curse, I would rather it this way. I pray of protection and peace over you and your family. I pray a protection and peace over myself and my family. I pray a protection and peace over Karen and her family specifically, especially since I have all this going on in my skull. I truly do want the very best for her in her life. I want her to find a companionship that would be twice as loving as what it is I feel I have in my heart for her. I want her to be safe of anything that would otherwise come against her in whatever way it would. And I hope the same for you in regards to your loved ones and the people you're pointed at in whatever direction. Pray for Damian Lillard and his situation, since we talked about him in the beginning. Pray for Drake and his situation, since we watched his video and talked about that in the beginning. I want the best for everybody, man. From within this very, very disadvantaged brain, there's a lot of care for people that I know, that I don't know. After all, everybody's at a distance in my life, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But I want people to know that I love myself, man. I don't believe I deserve to be discarded of. I don't believe I deserve to be pushed aside or lied to. I don't believe I deserve to be alone. I don't believe any of that. Not at all. I'm a good person to my core. And usually when people say that, it means that they're not a good person, to be honest with you. But I have done enough in prayer and spiritual equity to know that I am not a bad human being. I know that much. I've prayed prayers, which is the only thing that I can really go for in regards to that. As everything else is just about how people perceive your actions, how people perceive your words, and do they match. But I can tell you to my core, I want the best for people, man. I want the best for animals. I want the best for trees. I'm one of those. I really care, man. The only thing I don't care about is roaches that I happen to kill every time I see them. But even that makes me feel like I deserve worse. I'm sensitive to certain stuff that I know most people may not be. And because of it, I think I deserve to be happy. BDF 44, I thank you all for watching.